The Western Way, Mixed Spiritual Paths. I have spoken before about Eurasian mythology and the repeating pattern of 4 castes or classes of people, for directions, 4 humors, even 4 suits in a deck of cards. I spent many years with correspondences and came up with a pattern that fits into old myths of a bride, a hero, a shaman, and an elemental. Many have tried to mark these paths into kinds of people: commoners, farmers, nobles, and priests. I have labeled them performers, charmers, summoners, and channelers. In my searches, I recognize 4 stories, of which mostly the truncated versions are popular, like romance, the hero's journey, mysteries, and the fall from grace stories. Each of these has a full story that is a myth of a path that leads to an integrated center. These paths can be used in fiction, where they help determine the story arc and the kinds of protagonists, and get rid of stereotypes like all protagonists must be broken in some way. This also clears up protests about Cinderella or female heroes, or all tricksters lacking compassion. Most people's own journeys follow these 4 paths, yet some are mixed. This video is about the mixed paths. Castes and professions. Many societies had very structured social systems where a person lived and worked under a certain caste or class. This was often rigid, leading to centuries of rulers being among the same families, or a person born to be a worker never being able to own land. We moderns live in a very fluid world, but some of the old structures tend to influence the kinds of talents of certain professions. I have labeled them here as connection, investment, command, and creation. In the next slide, you can see a map of some broad professions and how they are influenced by these preferences. Some are mixed, like a personal trainer needing both the connection of water types to their clients, but also the business acumen more common to earth types. Many people have professions that are very different from the paths of their true work, and either enjoy the differences or suffer confusion. I myself am a creator, deep in the fire path, where all my traps and strengths lie, but my profession or day job is that of an accountant. I must run a business where I am an agent of the state and a go-between for business owners paying their taxes. This jarring difference helps me separate these worlds, but it can feel oppressive. Many professions require mixed strengths. Doctors and medical consultants often have to bridge caregiving with research and business sense. Architects must blend design and aesthetics with business and managerial skills. Engineers must be able to apply mathematics to design. And movie directors can be performers and managers at the same time. Most of the ancient world did not allow this. They had varying caste structures where certain professions were at the top or the bottom of social hierarchies. Stories often break these bounds, from rags to riches, or even the work of Jane Austen or Emily Bronte, who tell stories of romances between different castes. Our modern world divides people by accent or by money, as well as family background. I found it fascinating that ancient India had one map of the fourfold class system that was rotated in the west of Europe, so much so that the Celtic countries had 4 divisions around a 5th and had attributes for each division, as seen in this old text. of knowledge in the west, battle in the north, prosperity in the east, and music in the south. The true calling. We can clearly see examples of people in the wrong profession, either actors like Mary Tyler Moore, who jar in their roles, or people like Gloria Steinem, who, moving out of their professions, find a truer work in their own, or people like Hedy Lamarr, mislabeled in one profession so that they cannot do another. Even the Dalai Lama wanted to be a scientist, or Ravel, who supported his family by conducting, but on his deathbed heard every piece that he had not composed. Now we shall take a look at path combinations. Between fire and water lives the theater. This includes element of creative design with performance. Professionally, it is a huge field covering anything from singers to the fashion runway. The devotion of fire leads the performance away from the team and often into fierce competition from the individual for attention. Some artists live for the work, the perfection of the music, or the originality of movement, yet most fall into the traps of aging and health. Some become choreographers or let the models take over, but there is often the desire to destroy, as well as the jealousy of the young and beautiful. The clock ticks, but not as a warning that one is aging and will lose out to the rise of the young. Focus on the creation and the beauty, not on your own body coming apart, and stay away from the drugs, the pills, and the endless ways to reinvent yourself. Between water and earth are the team players, usually those who manage the team, working their way up through the ranks of service and dedication to a skill. These are the service professionals turned businessmen, dedicated to helping others, often working alone, but always one-on-one with clients, teammates, or dedicated followers. These people often don't know when to quit and will manage anyone they know for their own good. Be wary of taking on all the problems of the world in the confidence that you can always win your way through. Be careful of jealousy, the attractions of power, and becoming everyone's parent. Also be wary of competition, for it will drive you to see enemies everywhere. However, the combined gifts of charm and youth will be intoxicating. Most know that being the star quarterback or the pitcher will be temporary, and that is the fear. What will happen when you can't operate at all hours or you suffer some debilitating injury? This can be overcome with the confidence that comes from being there. You can help inspire others. You can fine-tune the machine that keeps people well. You can lead with both compassion and the willingness to sacrifice your time. Between air and earth is the power corner. This is where brains meet charm, and the person on this combined path has challenges that most will shun. Often people on this path will be tormented for being too smart, but charming enough to rise beyond it, often after college. These people can play in the roles of being the winning salesman or the star pilot, acing all the tests, winning all the prizes, while they quietly figure out how to take over and control the path to do it better. The combination of the willingness to do battle and the mind of the strategist encourages people on this path to venture into exciting business ventures where they need languages and the ability to adopt to foreign protocols. But the star salesman can turn into the tyrant who loves to slam his people to the ground to look for flaws and faults. The drive of winning makes him cheat and prey upon others. However, if he can see that his empire is not him, his kingdom is not his true soul, Then he may escape the power of his own drives and realize that he needs to give up to recover his own soul. He needs to give up the quest for excitement and focus on teaching the next generation. Between air and fire are the historians, writers, and academics who, while dedicated to original work, need to tell people what is wrong with the world or wrong in their fields. They are critics, revisionists, iconoclasts, eccentrics, researchers who want to warn us about the injustices of the world. Whether in a scientific field, an artistic field, or merely a scholar, they are compelled to challenge and take down the way in which things were always done. Or that is where it starts. What can happen on this path is that the revisionist can become orthodoxy, and the eccentric professor, in his boredom, can start tormenting his classes if he is prevented from doing his own work. Politics are a food for those of air, and anathema to those of fire. The creative work, the invention, the art, the writing can get destroyed or tainted by the political battles. You may find that your brilliant ideas get torn apart by those who should be on your side. Then you get mired in depression or in endless battles, fighting for your own vision rather than realizing it. You may thrive in this, but often the way out is not drink or argument, but leaving, giving it up to be by yourself, to recover your mind so that you can work again. Between fire and earth lies a place where design meets building, in artistic gardens, houses, and sometimes whole worlds like Disney's theme parks. Some designers have created cities, others have been content with wallpapers or spoons. This is a path of feng shui and the great movements in art, from cathedrals to furniture. The great traps here are in the fire failure of fame eating at art with ego, and in the earth trap of competition and trying to manage too much to keep the vision true to the path. We've seen where engineering falls to fantasy, or design becomes rigid and management fears change or is threatened by internal breaks in loyalty or trust. On this path, the projects can become so large and expensive that they attract parasites or predators, or the movement becomes so popular that the art is copied, diluted, or cheapened. Those on this path, with the double blessing of talent and charm, can fall into arrogance and design tyranny, or rope so many people into projects that they become fanatical about petty things. The way out is to stay small and continue to grow and change. Know that your vision is unique and can be a gift to others, not an oppression. The mix of air and water is popular for those in service, workers, or performers who step outside of their box and look at the way people are trapped, or the ways that others do work internationally, or have worked in the past, or can work in the future. These are people dedicated to the body or to the young, who are intelligent enough to see that there has been and can be change. They don't usually join protests, but instead work within their fields, calling attention to details or facts that are hurting others. However, a large part of this group are those who see themselves as administrators, either reforming and managing those who teach the young, or managing ancient spiritual practices that focus on heart religions like Catholicism or Mahayana Buddhism. They pride themselves on their ability both to connect people, but also to push for control or reform. Rather than confine themselves to family politics, they reach out to all families in all times. Rather than confine themselves to their own body, they want reform in medicine for all bodies. The trap here is pride and arrogance. The way out is to combine compassion with a love of justice and fairness without judging or punishing. A spiritual journey. I see a number of people who have begun in a profession that interested them to find their calling on a different path. Abby Cox, who became her path as a historical reenactor, has now become a historian calling attention to politics and reform. There are also those who, rather than stay in their calling, like Frank Lloyd Wright, chose to branch out and appear as experts enforcing standards on other paths. Some, like Steve Jobs of Apple fame, are misremembered as being on one path when they were actually on another. Others, like Bill Gates, have tried to move off their path in an effort to help or be like another person in their lives. Some, like Albert Einstein, are remembered for things they just didn't do that colored their path. How do you know where your spiritual development needs to go? Meditation is one of the best ways to figure this out, as it's journaling every day or even talking with a close friend about it. I have made videos on the fourfold way, which may be a help, but here are the 4 large traps and the 4 large advantages. For the path of water, the body and youth, the large trap is trying to hold on to the beauty of youth, the attractiveness and the power it brings. For the path of earth, social charm and management, the big trap is in trying to defend your little empire after having spent so many years trying to build it. You may see enemies everywhere, even among your friends. The path of air, the mind and the ability to summon and use power, there the trap is boredom, where having effected justice, you may be punished by being forced to lord it over your little group of misfits. For the people on the fire path who are blessed with talent and follow that despite their failings, they may fall into the trap of being used, their work falling victim to commercial success or to those who want to hurt others. Winning out to the end of the path of water, you become compassion itself. On the path of earth, you learn to give up of yourself for the next generation. The final end of the journey of air is becoming the wise man, the hermit, or the mentor. The path of fire through destruction leads to the hope of a new dawn and a resurrection from the ashes. Having walked one or more of these paths, you enter into a space of integration where all spiritual messages begin to make sense, and you then begin to see the possibilities of journeying beyond the human condition to a greater spiritual path where you can transcend yourself.